Welcome to the channel. In this video, Larry will be cooking a repeat dish from several years ago that he calls better than Manwich's Sloppy Joes. It's easy, quick, inexpensive, and delicious. Let's get cooking.
And let's get started fixing these better than Manwich Sloppy Joes. We're cooking them in the Instant Pot. This is the small, I believe it's a 6-quart, but this is the smallest one available. And we're cooking them in that because that'll be plenty of volume, being that we're making just a single recipe. You can double, triple, or quadruple the recipe, of course, but you'd have to use a bigger pot. So we're going to start with 1 pound of ground beef, and I'm using pretty lean. I've preheated the pot and it's showing hot, so it's ready. And I'm going to brown that beef and get it good and hot before we do anything else. So we'll let that brown for a few minutes, and I'll be back and we'll add our next ingredient. I've been browning this beef. By the way, I didn't tell you, I don't think, that I have the Instant Pot on saute high, and I've been browning it for about 6 or 8 minutes, and it looks like it's ready. I'm using the stir and chop. I love these, and you can get one from Pampered Chef for about $20. Or you can do like I did and get this one from the Dollar Tree for $1.25. Works just as well. I have both, and I actually prefer this one because things don't seem to stick to the little propeller as bad on this as they do on the one from Pampered Chef. Okay, I'm going to go drain the grease off of this and come back and we'll continue on. I've drained the grease off now. Actually, I didn't drain it. I used paper towels and blotted it. So the next thing we want to do is put in our aromatics, which happens to be onions. And I don't like the taste of fresh onions, so I'm using onion flakes. And I've got about 2 teaspoons of onion flakes, and I'm pouring them in there. And then I'm going to put it back on sear, and we'll let it sear for about 3 or 4 more minutes. Get those all mixed in well with the meat. And we'll also pour in about a teaspoon of garlic salt. And that's all we're going to put in for now. We're going to let that cook for about 5 minutes, and then we'll come back and move on. That's been cooking about 4 minutes now. And the next thing we're going to put in, the recipe actually calls for about 3 tablespoons of bell pepper, fresh bell pepper, but I didn't have any, so I'm using this dried bell pepper that I bought on Amazon that's really good, and putting it in here, and there's enough grease still in here and enough moisture to rehydrate that bell pepper. The bell pepper is one thing that gives Manwich's the unique flavor that it has. So you don't need to omit that step, either fresh or dried bell pepper like I put in this. And let's let that sit just for a few more minutes, and we'll come back and finish adding our ingredients. That's been cooking all together now for about 10 minutes. So we're going to put the rest of the ingredients in and go from that. The first thing we're going to put in is 3/4 of a cup of ketchup. And I've found it doesn't really matter what brand you use, it all tastes about the same when you get it in here. And the next thing we're going to do is put in, let me get a little scraper. We're going to put in a teaspoon, or maybe a little bit more. Maybe we should say a heaping teaspoon of yellow mustard. Yes, I've had questions about it. You can use Dijon mustard or any kind of mustard that you like, but I think the yellow mustard tastes the best and makes the most authentic tasting sloppy joes. The next thing we're going to add after the mustard is 1 teaspoon of white vinegar. You can use white vinegar or apple cider vinegar, whichever you prefer. It's not going to have much of a difference in flavor. And the next thing we're going to put in 2 heaping tablespoons of brown sugar. Again, all of these things add to the final dynamic of the flavor. And that's all we're going to put in there. That's everything. Let's stir it up. I've still got it on saute, so it's heating. And we'll get that mixed up real well. So the ketchup mixes and makes it look like a sloppy joe, makes it sloppy. If it's not wet enough for you, or you don't think that it's the consistency that you like, you can always add more ketchup. Just don't make the mistake of adding tomato paste or tomato sauce, because it won't taste the same. It really needs to be ketchup. The spices that are in the ketchup make a huge difference in the final outcome of your dish. You can also notice I'm using a spoon now, a metal spoon. You can use those in the Instant Pot because the Instant Pot does not have a non-stick coating. It's stainless steel, and it won't hurt a thing to use metal utensils in it. Now it's done. Looks good, doesn't it? Can you tell? Let me see if I can zoom in just a little and see if you can see the texture of it. Yeah, that looks pretty good, as you can see. Looks really good. Making your mouth water? It is mine. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the Instant Pot on slow cook. I'm going to put it on slow cook, high, and we're going to let it sit there for about 20 to 30 minutes so that the flavors get real well blended in everything in this pot. If it begins to boil or you think it's cooking too fast, bring the heat down to maybe medium or low. Then what I'm going to do is what I like to do when I'm using the Instant Pot and I'm doing a slow cook or something like this. I like to use a glass lid so I can see it, and it's much easier to get on and off than if you use the Instant Pot lid, because you don't have to twist it and get it on there. And it just seems to work better. So we've got the glass lid on, we've got it cooking, got all our ingredients in there, and we've just got to wait to taste all this deliciousness. But we'll check on it probably in about 10 to 15 minutes and see how it's coming along. And I'll let you join me to do that. We've been cooking now for about 20 minutes, and it sure does smell good. And as the pot cycles on and off, it's boiling a little bit, and so then it's getting still, so it's doing perfectly well. Let me scan in on that again so you can see what it looks like. It's really beginning to look like it's supposed to. I can see, I'm not sure if you can see in the camera, but I can see specks of the bell pepper and the onions in there, and it sure smells like it's about ready. But we're going to let it cook about 10 more minutes, and then we'll give it a try. This has been simmering on slow cook high for about 30 minutes now, and it looks to be perfectly done. So we're ready to serve it up, and that's the next thing we'll do. We're going to serve it up and show you a serving suggestion. Serve it up with some, I was going to do it with some corn on the cob, but I don't feel like I want to do that now, so I'm going to serve it with some potato chips. So we'll serve it up in the next frame. Let's serve up this deliciousness. We've got a bun, got some potato chips. You just can't imagine how good it smells. We're gonna spoon that onto there. I also have a recipe that I'm gonna do for you in the next week or so. It's basically the same recipe, except it's done with Asian type seasonings, and it looks really good. There it is. Let me zoom in on the next shot so you can get a good look at it. There you go. Sloppy Joes, better than Manwiches, Larry under pressure style. If you've enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe. And below there'll be instructions and a full recipe for making these yourself. Hope you've enjoyed the video, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for watching our video. Below, you'll find a full written recipe to help you with this dish. You'll also find Amazon purchase links for items Larry used in the video and on the channel. Until next time, we wish you happy cooking. Take care